Hey guys, and thanks for joining us for another Zoom chat with the EXV team of Scott Quinnell, Richard Bland, Sean Irvine, and myself, Pete Blay. Matt Letitia is running a little late, but he should be with us soon. We're joined this week by AC Milan goalkeeper Asmir Begovic and AFC Bournemouth defender Charlie Daniels. We're going to kick straight off by saying that Asmir has got to be the coolest guy on this call.
Doesn't he look cool as anything? I can only just about sit in the chair in my office.
It's the Italian sunshine and everything rubbing off. So what can I say? Milan's beautiful this time of year.
Awesome.
Is Matt joining us?
Yeah, Matt's supposed to be joining us unless he's been invited out on the course and he couldn't resist. But he's supposed to be with us anytime.
He's probably got an anniversary hangover.
Yeah, probably. Or he's probably still struggling from a thigh strain, isn't he? And that he picked up in Harry's Heroes.
Oh, absolutely.
I haven't seen the last one yet, but before he comes, I got to say, it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. It's amazing that what a lot of you kind of see with football that everybody's earning crazy amounts of money, and it is I think we can probably all kind of relate to it. That well, maybe not so much to me because all the guys that are still actually playing. That retirement is. I think so many people really struggle with, the retirement side.
Well, I wonder whether obviously Charlie and Asmir are still playing, but I know you guys in conversations of you're always mindful of what's coming up in the future, and I think as a sportsman, as a top sportsman, as all of you guys are, there's still that desire to carry on as long as you can possibly carry on, because it's everything that you are familiar with, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. We're in the middle of pre-season at the moment, so retirement at this moment looks pretty good to me, I have to say. I don't know about everyone else, but it's like 2 days and thinking, okay, show how many more years of this I can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, especially like footballers, say from 70s to 90s, who probably didn't get the education of like what you're going to do after football. Really, I mean, a lot has been put in from when I was in like the youth team about how short the career is compared to your life, and how much like what are you going to do after football is a lot of your time. And they say a lot of people say around that era have been depressed because it's not so much the football side, but it's the going into the dressing room every day. They miss the dressing room. They miss
you miss the banter, don't you? You miss the camaraderie.
Yeah, you miss everything about just the thing that just goes around the football pitch. Not so much to say that Asmir says like the pre-season. No one enjoys the pre-season. No one enjoys the running. No one enjoys getting. But the thrill you get by winning the game and just celebrating with your teammates is probably the biggest thing that everybody misses.
I mean, other than Richard, obviously, in terms of you guys, you're all team players as well, so that's even more sort of relevant for you guys. But I mean, what about Sean and Scott? I mean, has that been a similar? I know we've touched on this in previous conversations, but has that been a similar sort of thing for you? That transition is mainly just getting together and being part of a team that you miss more so than anything else?
I think luckily when I retired 2 years before, I started working for Sky, so I went straight from playing rugby into talking about rugby and going to games every weekend, and with the likes of Will Greenwood. I hadn't quite joined the team then, but Dewi Morris was there, Fitzy was there, Stuart Barnes was there, Simon Lazenby at the time, Alex Payne come on later, and you feel like a team yourself when you're doing that type of thing. So I was lucky. I sort of transitioned quite well out of it with no plan in place, just sort of fell into the next thing that you're going to do. And I think golf gives you that as well. Like, it gives you that competitive edge, and it gives you that ability to go out there and play and compete against people and be around people. And everybody call it banter, it's just talking to other people. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing. It's just talking, have a bit of fun on the golf course. That's what you miss from your playing days. It's funny, one of the stats, it was 5 or 6 years ago, I think, among suicide, I think cricket was one of the highest suicide rates after sport, because I think they spend so much time together and because you go to play cricket, some cricketers go into their sort of late 30s, early 40s, and then when you finish becoming a cricketer and you don't have a bag on a bus or in a car travelling to the next ground, they found it very, very difficult. So one of the stats they brought out 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was cricketers that were unfortunately, suffering the most. Sean, when you're lucky you got into golf now and you've got that competitive edge to it. A lot of the older cricket guys haven't got anywhere to go.
No, you're absolutely right, Scotty. I mean, I don't know if that stat was probably still true now to present day, but I know for me, obviously, I wasn't finished cricket, and there was a sort of like bit of a sort of lumber time there where sort of about 2 or 3 months where I didn't actually know what I was going to do. But going into sort of golf, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. You're always challenging yourself as you do in your professional sport. So that took my focus away from the fact that you're sort of having retired and what am I going to do next. It was just that period of time that golf just took that thought away, that thought process away from it. So and yeah, you're lucky. I mean, golf is you challenge yourself, you try and improve all the time. You go through your practice, your practice routines and regimes and your schedules, and I've enjoyed that part of it. But there will be a time when you might not be able to continue that. So and then that's when you've got to try and come up with something else. But there are, as Charlie was saying, there are things in sport. Luckily, this day and age, you've got the PCA who do so much for the cricket side of things. I think it's the football have one where the players they try and get guys to go and do courses and things outside of the sport and try and promote that sort of life after cricket or life after sport. So yeah,
Sean, I wanted to ask you and Scott, I guess, Charlie and I we're sort of getting to mid-30s, and you always look at what that next step is going to be, and as much as we joke around, but it's going to happen to all of us. I mean, I've heard a lot. It's that lack of purpose. It's that lack of it's that lack of purpose, I guess, that because when you're playing, you're an athlete, you're in it. This is what you do. This is what your craft is. You're getting better at it every day. You're pushing yourself. You've got your structure. Is it that lack of purpose that's probably the biggest challenge? Like, what are you going to sink your teeth into, or what's your life really about then? Because we all love our families and all that kind of stuff, but I think as athletes and competitors, it's that purpose that drives us a lot of the time. Is that sort of an issue you guys have seen, or?
I reckon you're spot on because obviously Scotty fell straight into Sky, so he was quite lucky in that sense. But I could think of 10 things, that I would, let me try that, let me try this, let me try that. But it's exactly like you say, it's the lack of purpose. I mean, you've got a foundation happening, which is brilliant. So your purpose when you're not playing football, you can focus on that. You know what I mean? And that's brilliant. But I think you're actually spot on. I think that it's the lack of purpose and the drive to try and accomplish that.
But as well, it is probably the most exciting time of your life, because it's almost like the time where you went from junior school into secondary school, where it's the most nervous time of your life.
Yeah.
But so many opportunities out there for you. The biggest thing I'd say to anybody, especially if you're in sport now, like you guys, you're still playing in sport, it can be all-consuming. It can be just concentrating on the next training session, getting through the pre-ab, make sure you're right for the next game, and then to the next training session, pre-ab game, and build relationships. That's what I always say to the young guys coming through the sport, whatever sport it is. Build relationships, understand what it's like to go and sit down and just talk to somebody for an hour, or don't always be the one that's sort of answering the questions. Ask questions. Find out what you want to find out. Find out from other people what they're doing, what they're interested in, because when you come out of the game, and when you finally finish, and I finished at 32, I had bad knees and I broke my wrist, and in the end, I was happy to retire. But that was compounded by the fact that I had nowhere else to go. Luckily, Sky took me on, and I did a few more things with them, and now I do radio, now I do TV, I do a bit of acting, and it's things that I've never thought of doing before. I couldn't read or write until I was 36. I was dyslexic, I was dyspraxic, I struggled, I didn't stand up and put myself above the parapet, or I always was one of those guys who would sort of sit down with a visibility cloak over them and think, I'm not going to push myself outside my comfort zone. But what I would say to you guys is, now when you are playing, push yourself outside your comfort zone, off the field. Go out and meet people, understand what they're doing for transition, and see what's out there. And you will make mistakes. I've made loads of mistakes. But the things you need to do is get out there and try. And then you will find something that you absolutely love. And then you'll push on from there. I've been retired now longer than I was playing. And I prefer doing now when I was playing, because it's things that excite you, and that you can do different things. Who would have thought 3 months ago we'd be sitting down on a Zoom call, on an iPad, talking to sort of brilliant footballers, cricketers, golfers from around the world. You don't until you put yourself out there. And you know what? It's fucking great as well. It's quite nice. I don't have to go out to the house to do it. You don't have to go out to the car to do it. It's absolutely brilliant.
There you go. Happy days.
That's the coolest Zoom call I've ever had in my life. It's absolutely brilliant. So it's a frightening time, but it's then what you make it. Don't see it as a negative. See it as a positive to the next stage in your development.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that Golf EXV was kind of established with almost that sort of principle in mind, because it was very much about connecting with the likes of you guys, and obviously Asmir and Charlie, we've had conversations before about doing things, and it's for me, EXV is about building a wider family of golfers, celebrities. I use the term celebrities, personalities, sports stars. So I see that as a really interesting little connection there in that respect. And in fact, with Richard, because obviously with Richard, I think you're just a couple of years off, three or so years off of qualifying for seniors tour, aren't you, Rich? So
well, not qualifying, eligible for.
Yeah, okay. But
50,
just that's a great example in terms of golf. You can just carry on. You're not restricted in terms of that. The physical side of competing. So. That's an element that I'd like to bring to the table as well in terms of the golf. So, it's but it's great. I mean, as you say, Scott, in terms of getting together and having these Zoom chats, I think the situation, out of the negative situation of COVID-19, who would have thought that we would have even been sat around chatting on Zoom, because that wasn't really a technology that people were embracing on this sort of level, but it's come to the fore.
It's funny, we all sit here now, and the two boys are there pretending to be younger than they are. And like most current sportsmen, and Blandy sitting up there wishing he's pretending to be 52. Look at him. I'm eligible now. I know I look young, but I'm 52 on it.
Trust me.
I look 52 this morning. Look, I had a couple of drinks last night. It's killing me.
I was thinking, Charlie, because you've obviously had a rough ride with your injuries, and has that made that kind of whole career thought even more poignant, even more of a sort of
I mean it definitely has done, especially doing it back to back. I mean, I've done my left knee dislocated. So I went through all the rehab. I think it took about 5 months, so it was quicker than everybody expected, but I felt fine, and then played one game, and then the second game I done my other knee, dislocated my other knee, so it was a bit but it was a bit worse than my other side, so it's taken a lot longer. So it's been I think we're on about 8 months now post-op, but I'm running on the treadmill, can do a lot of gym work, and now hopefully by start of next month, then I can hopefully be running outside, which is good news, and you know, kicking on from there. Yeah, but it's been a long road. I mean, I felt like I've been in isolation for 8 months at the minute, but hopefully seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and say, you know, once I get running outside, you know, there's nothing better than feeling you're running on grass and getting back.
We can welcome Matt. Can you hear us, Matt? Looks like he's just come straight off the golf course.
Yeah.
Really
Looks like he's been to the hairdressers as well.
Yeah, he's had his ears lowered.
Had a good day.
Well, that's a bit sharp, isn't it?
I do apologise. For some reason, I thought it was 2:30 and not 2:00.
And now I know where you lost that 6 kilos. It was all on top of your head.
You're not wrong. How are you, boys? You all right, Asmir?
Good man. Thank you.
Good man. Hey, Charlie, how you doing, pal?
Mate, how you doing? You all right?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, mate. Very good.
You've been on the course again today. You've been playing again today, yeah?
No, I'm out tomorrow.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, you're definitely out tomorrow.
You got dressed very early.
We thought you might have got injured again on the way. After watching the programme last night, we thought you might have got injured.
I did get injured a lot in that programme. Still, it was worth it.
Looked good fun, though.
2 games against Germany, 2 wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I videoed it.
Well,
Oh, we videoed it.
Sorry, Scott. Have you not seen it?
Watch it tonight.
It was 6-5.
Oh.
Really good game. Well worth watching.
yeah.
On penalties as well.
Bollocks. Well, watch EastEnders instead. Brilliant programme.
Matt, we were just talking to the guys about kind of career, coming to the end of the career and that transition. I'd just be interested to hear what your immediate experience was, and maybe just in the lead up to that last season, maybe.
Yeah, it was an interesting one because I only decided to retire in the March of the season that I retired. I've been struggling with injuries for about 2 or 3 years actually, and I hadn't played a huge amount. So it was kind of a gradual decline for me. So I knew it was coming, and I didn't really want to. I wanted to kind of go out at the top, if you like, and I didn't want to kind of drift down the leagues and kind of become a shadow of the player that I was. And so I decided in the March of 2002 that I couldn't do what I used to be able to do anymore, and it was time for me to hang my boots up.
All right. And what did you do straight after? What was that next year like? So that immediate 12 months after?
I played shitloads of golf.
Seems to be a general theme there, doesn't it? Everyone sort of.
I did. I think it was that year that I set my record for the most consecutive days of golf played at various courses. I played 19 days in a row.
Oh wow!
Over about 10 or 11 different courses. It was magnificent.
Brilliant.
It was easier.
I mean that must come as a bit of a surprise to Blandy. That must come as a bit of a surprise to Blandy because he struggles to play more than 2 in a row.
Not play. I tell you what, I'd love to. I'd take playing 2 in a row at the minute.
You're not wrong.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what Twitter's got to say tomorrow afternoon.
So, have Asmir and Charlie, have you made plans for when the time comes? Have you
no, not yet. I was meant to be taking my A license. I think it's this week actually. I was meant to be on the 2nd week, but obviously it's been postponed. So I'm just waiting on the update for that. So yeah, I think it's coaching or managing is probably something I'd like to get involved with. So it's just trying to get my badges as early as I can. I think is the main thing, rather than, and then that transition should be hopefully a little bit quicker than it would do than when I retired and started it like that way.
You've still got a few years left in you yet, Chaz.
Yeah, I hope so.
You better make sure you get loads of just for men then before you start coaching. They all go grey very quickly.
I know, I've noticed. Eddie's covering it up well.
How were you out there? How's pre-season going? Getting a lot of golf in?
It's not quite actually. Not quite. We've been training 2.5 weeks, and it's been a good blast, to be honest. I mean, today was only one long session, whereas yesterday was 2 sessions, and most days it's doubles. And we're definitely ramping it up. I think we're aiming to start back middle of June. That's the aim, and we're all training as a team now, and everything is at full blast. So it's been tough. It's hot. It's 30 plus every day. So that brings its own challenge. But as any preseason goes, it's a grind, and you just gotta get through it. And hopefully it'll be worth something, because if we don't go back to playing, then it'll be kind of worth nothing at the moment. But I guess they're trying to get the games in and make sure we're ready to go when it comes. And just to kind of answer Matt's question as well for after career, I mean, I guess as you said, you only decided such a short space of time before you actually made a decision, so you never quite know when that moment's going to come. And I think we all try and be as well prepared as we can, but you just never know what the circumstance will be when the time comes.
Are you on the second phase? Like everyone's training together?
Yeah, no, we're on like the third. I don't know what phase. There's no phases here. I mean, I know it's a little bit still in lockdown over there in the UK. I see.
Oh, well, not on the beaches.
Yes.
Oh, let me tell you, yeah, it's packed down the beach.
I bet.
I saw some photos yesterday on Twitter, and literally the beaches were packed, weren't they?
Mm. Yeah. I mean, down here it's ridiculous how many people are down here. I mean, everyone's still a little bit apart, but there's just so many people on the beach, especially yesterday. I mean, the weather's nice now.
That'll be me next week in half term. Don't worry about
that.
We're still in lockdown.
Oh.
Yeah, you're a bit backward over there, though, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, you say that. Yeah. we got another 10. We got another 10 days of lockdown.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So no beach for us.
You're saying
has Wales got any?
We got some of the best beaches in the world, and we've only just stopped charging you lot for coming in. If you we don't behave, we're going to put it back up to a 10.
You would have made a lot more money to charge us to get out.
You're all so tight, you're going up the M50.
So when you're back out on the courses then, Scott?
I'm locked out. I'm a member of 2 courses. The Celtic Manors closed down. That isn't open to June the 1st. And the other course is in Harlech in North Wales. And that's 3 hours away, 180 miles away. And I'm not allowed to travel there. And that's open. So I'm still golfless.
I'll say for Charlie, that's off the schedule for the time being. When do you reckon you'll be back out playing golf?
Hopefully soon. I mean, I'm not a member anywhere. That's probably the hardest bit at the minute, because every course that's open now is members only. So we've got Parkstone just round the corner, and while lockdown was on, we got a chance to walk around it with the kids and stuff. And yeah, now it's open, and every time I drive past it, I'm thinking, I wish I was a member. I wish I was a member somewhere. We got buddies moved to Italy for a few months.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. Yeah.
What about you, Sean? Are you getting out?
I was telling Rich before everyone got on, but I managed to get out last Friday. I've only been out once, really. I've only been out my house 5 times, so I've actually really sort of stayed in. But yeah, just popped down to Boundary Lakes, played a quick 18 holes there. Like Rich was saying, you just turn up, play around, and then piss off home. So
I was thinking, Charlie, both Charlie and Asmir actually, in one of the previous chats, Matt was telling us about particularly playing golf at the same time as the football career. Even one of the guys used to go. He went out and played on the Saturday morning before playing on the Saturday his football match on the Saturday afternoon. So I mean, I should imagine that's completely different for you guys nowadays. I mean, it's almost
the good old times,
as and when, isn't it?
The good old times. No, I mean, Chaz will tell you. I mean, we during the season, it's so difficult. As the season winds down a little bit, if you're safe for relegation or stuff like that, nothing to play for, then that's a good time to kind of get out because you get a few more days off. But during the season, it's tough. I mean, you get worked so hard in training, and then it's always about the next game, and Now you can't get away with playing a couple days before, even though for my, I find golf incredibly relaxing, and I enjoy, spending time with some friends, and I'd play it a couple of days before a game. But if, the manager and stuff finds out these days, then you just get in trouble and it becomes a whole issue. And so, yeah, your golf game definitely takes a backseat during the season.
Cool. Listen, guys, a little special guest is joining us here. It's quite relevant to all of the conversations we've just been having, but in terms of
the legend himself, look at that.
Life after sport and that, but as the great Bob Wilson, a lovely guy, and hopefully you can hear us, Bob.
I can hear you, Peter. Had a slight complication getting on, but I'm not the world's greatest technical guy. So anyway, I'm here.
Lovely to see you, Bob.
Just saw who was speaking there.
Hi, Peter.
Hello, Megs.
How are you?
Okay.
Yeah, I can see and I can recognise. Yeah, and I saw Asmir was talking.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I kept it quiet from the guys that you were coming on because I just thought it'd be quite a nice little touch just to, add a bit of, it's relevance in terms of, obviously Asmir's on anyway, so goalkeeper to goalkeeper. But
there we go.
A few of the guys, as you know, have made transitions from sport into TV afterwards as well. And interesting enough, just by chance, the conversation did actually go down that path before you joined us, as in life after football, life after sport. So, I just thought it'd be a lovely addition. And there you go. So you're looking well, though, Bob?
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, we're really lucky where we live. We live at the head of the river. I'm looking out at the head of the river, leading out to the sea here at Christchurch, very close to AFC Bournemouth and Charlie. I've been actually having a look at you, Charlie, and I did not realise that you were Tottenham and away and back to Tottenham and back to Tottenham, and you can't mention Spurs in my company.
Well, I think I'll be opposite. I can't the other words. I can't mention that word. Obviously, when you're growing up at Spurs, you can't. I mean, Spurs Arsenal is such a big rivalry. Even from when I joined under 13s, I think it was, and even then, you get drilled into you that the other half of London is the rivals, and you have to hate everything about them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't do that anymore. I guess when we played, it was like that. But, I mean, when I look at the charity stuff that Megs and I have done for 20 years, our best mates amongst our ambassadors for the charity are Ozzy, our dealers, and about 2 or 3 of the guys, obviously big Pat Jennings, again from the Goalkeepers Union, one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time without question. I mean, I was his coach for quite a time. When he joined Arsenal, by the way, I was his coach, and he arrived on the first day. He'd had a bit of a row with Tottenham, and he's got this great big deep voice. Apart from the biggest hands you will ever see, Asmir, I can promise you, as a goalie, you might have big hands, but big Pat Jennings beats everything. But he arrived. He arrived on the first day, and he said, "I can't do the Irish accent too well, but his big deep voice," and he went, "Bob, I've never had a coach before. I'm not sure about this, And I honestly,
he's in the building then.
And I just, look, Pat, I can't teach you anything. You're unique in your style. He was the first keeper to save with his, to stand up and save with his feet, as opposed to my style, because my hero was Bert Troutman. So Bert broke his neck in the '56 final, and I could do what Bert did. Probably better, because I never broke my neck. But but that was my style, and my style worked for me. And the only thing I ever helped Pat with during his time at Arsenal, in the time, because I coached the goalies unpaid for 15, 16 years at the club. The only thing was that when he retired on his 41st birthday, playing in a World Cup for Northern Ireland, he said he really kept going. He wanted to retire at 34, 35. And I kept saying, Pat, you've got years ahead. You've got years ahead. Because he was unique in his way. And I think it was just my sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, that kept him going until that sort of age. But I'm just talking about the friendship that we have with the Spurs players, even if you're an Arsenal man.
Yeah, no, everything off the pitch. I mean, you say, especially that area, especially Big Pat. I mean, what a legend! He was a coach at Spurs when I was coming through, and what a lovely guy. You know, he'd help anyone, and what a goalkeeper as well. Yeah, just a true legend.
Not a bad golfer either.
No, you're right. Was that Matt saying that?
It was.
Yeah, no, he plays off. Is he still single figures, I think, isn't he? Or 9 or 10?
So. Yeah, I believe so. I've been in a good battle with him down in La Manga on Terry Mancini's trips. Yeah, he's an incredible guy, and yeah, I mean, I know with the coaching, obviously at Spurs, they've loved him at Spurs over the years, and I do genuinely say that he is one of the greatest goalkeepers. I know this is really over the top, maybe, but I think he ranks in amongst one of the greatest keepers of all time. Yeah, and you know, I mean, I don't know about whether Asmir saw him play ever. Did you ever see Big Pat play, Asmir?
Well, I've seen highlights. Obviously, I never had the pleasure to watch you guys play live, but I've definitely seen highlights of, you know, Pat, obviously Gordon Banks, yourself, you know, Pushkash, all those sort of people that you know, paved the way for us, really. So, you know, I have a huge amount of respect for your generation and just some amazing goalkeepers.
Well, the greatest thing Pat had, Asmir, really was the size of his hand. So when you and I would try and help defence and go for a cross, you know, we'd go with both hands, hope we'd get there. You know, we'd either help on, we would punch, or we would catch. You've got the 3 alternatives. Big Pat, even when he made a misjudgment on the height of the cross, because of his size of his hands, he was the first goalie I ever remember just having the confidence to catch it one-handed. I mean, everybody remembers the Pat Jennings one-handed saves, and he was unique in that way as well. But as you say, one of the nicest guys as well.
Hey, Blandy, weren't you a budding goalkeeper once upon a time?
I was. I had trials for Southampton.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I had.
Tell us about it.
I'm an extra large golf club as well. So yeah, I've got decent size hands. But yeah, I had a pretty bad injury when I was 15. Pretty much had almost had my left leg snapped in half. And yeah, I played for another season after that. And
is that what you struggled with your transition, getting the left hip out of the way now?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. And but actually, if it's kind of like that kind of happened just before I left school, and because like when I was at school, I always kind of thought I would be football because that's all I did. I mucked around with golf. I play, you know, because my mum and dad played, and I would go to the local public golf club and play. So when I just kind of didn't want to play anymore. I don't know why. I think and as a goalkeeper, as Bob and Asmir will tell you, you've got to put yourself in harm's way a lot more. I wouldn't say, not say I lost my bottle with it, but I kind of wasn't as committed. Yeah, I lost my bottle. And, and so when I left school, I had no clue what to do. And my dad just took me to the golf club at 6:30 in the morning on his way to work, and he picked me up at 6:30 at night, and I just played and practiced all day, and that was that. So then golf became my life basically, and I got offered the pro at the municipal club. He offered me a job on the YTS scheme, earning £29.50 a week, which is more than I'm earning now, and that was it. And I did that, and the rest is history, really.
Richard, just to jump in there, when you said £9 a week, my starting salary, do you want to have a guess?
Probably less than that.
Oh.
It was actually
probably a lot less than that.
It was £1 more. It was £30 a week.
Wow.
But we got bonuses.
Buy a terrace house in those days,
This is quite funny, really. A few weeks ago, when we had there was a cycle event, a charity event, and my wife and I were at the end saying well done to everybody and thanking them for coming and everything. And a lad came up. He was into his 20s, and he said, "Bob, can I ask you a question?" So I said, "Yeah, of course." And he said, "When you finished playing football, did you ever have to work again?" and his mum and dad shouted and went, Charlie, don't be silly. Bob played a long time ago. So I said, look, Charlie, you're okay. I said, look, I finished playing in 1974. So he went, oh, that's a long time ago. So I said, well, come on, tell me what you think. And he went, 1974, that's 40, 50, oh my, 10,000 a week. And his mum and dad went off on one, and I said, look, Charlie, my best ever salary, Frank McClintock and I were the two best players at Arsenal at the time, was £130 a week. And he went, I don't really believe you. I said, I did, but we got bonuses. And he said, oh, what were your bonuses? I said, £4 for a win and 2 for a draw, which finished him off totally. And I think, times have changed, but I love the time that I played, and I never have any issue with that. I don't know how, Matt, are you the same with that?
Absolutely.
I know you earn more than me, I know, but
Yeah,
general...
it's all relative, Bob. I mean,
relative.
I finished in 2002, and I was on £3,500 a week at the time. So, a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them that, because they think that, in that day and age, everyone should have been on 25, 30 grand a week.
Yeah.
But I've never had an issue. I'm the same as you. I love the time that I played. I wouldn't have swapped it, and I haven't had any problem transitioning into the real world either.
No.
Hey, I tell you what, I played rugby. I'd have loved £4 to win. It'd be great.
But you started pretty much with Sky as you were finishing, though, Matt, weren't you?
It was about 3 years between finishing football and signing a contract with Sky. I did a bit of pay-as-you-go work for them, so I'd just be on appearance money every time I turned up. But actually was under contract to Sky from 2005. So I had 3 years of spending the money that I made in my testimonial first.
Then
realised that wasn't going to last forever. I better get a job.
You did a bit of caddying as well, didn't you?
Well, I thought I was a really good caddy, but obviously you didn't think so, because you didn't ask me again.
Well, when you dropped the bag on the 6p at Loch Lomond, I think your P45 was up then.
I think that's right. Although that wasn't my last event though. You did employ me for 2 other events after that. I think it was more to do with the argument that we had down in Australia when I tried to tell you what shot you should have played after the round.
Yeah, that might have been it. But I think that argument was alcohol fueled as well.
I think there was every chance.
Richard, when you had your
first.
Richard, can I ask you a question? Can you remember when you won your tournament? When they won that tournament, can you remember who came second to you?
What tournament was that? It's not been many.
Challenge Tour. This must be the Challenge Tour one.
The Challenge Tour. Yeah. What, the grand final?
I think it was called that. Anyway, I only know this because I played in a charity event with the guy who came second to you.
I think it was Phil Golding.
It was Phil Golding, massive Arsenal fan. That's the only reason, Richard, that I really know that. But
yeah, I remember that day quite vividly. It was like
you should do.
It was me.
Fucking won.
Who said that?
And it was. Who invited him anyway? Go and get your other bit of your haircut. But I remember Phil. It was me, Andrew Marshall, and it was. It shows you sometimes leading up to that event. As I was living with Matt at the time, and I'd played dreadful all year.
Just in case you're wondering.
I'd played dreadful all year, and then towards the sort of middle to the end of the year, I started playing better. And the tournament before the grand final, I think it must have been 40 feet minimum.
Yeah, that's about
on the 18th green, and it was up a tier. And obviously I didn't know at the time, but if I'd have missed that putt, I wouldn't have got into the grand final.
Bob, I bet you wish you hadn't asked now, did you?
And then I go on to win the grand final to get my card. So, I think I shot 29 on the back nine to win, I think.
With golf as the theme, I was going to. We've had chats before about kind of best moments on the course, things like that. Anything that comes close to career moments, it'd be worth just sort of getting a grab off of Charlie, Asmir, and Bob as to any memorable golf moments you've had, or the best, or the worst.
Yeah, there's not been many memorable moments. I think when we played the Earth course in Dubai, what course that is.
That was a good experience. Yeah,
definitely the best golf course I've played.
That's because it's because we won. It's because we won and beat Dan Gosling and somebody, and they had a stinker, so they paid for lunch as well. So that was a good day.
And the beach down here, there's so many traps, so many sand traps. I think there's about 8 per hole from what I can remember. I remember being in a lot, but yeah, that course there was unbelievable. I remember Dan Gosling. What's that?
Sorry?
No hole-in-ones yet?
No.
No.
Don't
you have to bring that one up.
Not yet. Thanks, mate.
How many blanked you? 20?
No, I haven't.
19.
Yeah,
I remember we played, I can't remember which course we were playing, but Dan Gosling, one of the players for Bournemouth, he hit a steward on our first tee shot. Yeah. He's hooked it, and there was an event going on the left-hand side, big event, lights, everything was going on, and yeah, he's hooked this ball, and he's literally in the light. He's probably whizzed it past about that height, and yeah, so that was definitely the most memorable moment, close to getting someone in hospital. It's probably
Who's the best player down in Bournemouth out of the Bournemouth team?
It was Matty. I think Matty Rick. But
yeah,
me.
You were Ryan Fraser. You were Ryan Fraser, I think.
Ryan Fraser's pretty decent. Adam Smith, I think, is meant to be very good, but he don't really play a lot down here. But we've got a good few number of people that play golf, and when the time's right, we like to get around them.
Yeah, I played with Matt Ritchie last year. Actually, he's got a decent swing. He'll get single figures quick.
Yeah, he loses his temper very quickly though. He's very hot-headed, like he is on a pitch.
What about you, Bob?
Well, I've had a couple of holes in one over the years, but I am 78 years of age now, so I'm entitled to that. The really memorable moment for me was in a charity event where I was playing alongside a singer, a very famous singer, who my wife and I grew up with, as it were. I mean, you young guys probably we might have heard of him, but he's now 84 years of age, but his name's Johnny Mathis, and he's he had 4 hit records and whatever. And I was lucky enough to get to know him. We used to go to the concerts, and then he came out to play golf at Brookman's Park, where we lived for 34 years of our life. And I'd asked him, do you want to come and play golf? Because he's a fanatical golfer. And, oh yeah, gee, Bob, yeah, that would be great. And he turned up with the biggest golf bag you've ever seen. And a mate of mine said, "Can I caddy for you, John?" And it was hilarious because he carried this bag. But that wasn't the point. He started to play really poorly. And first of all, he sliced one, and then he hooked one, and then one was as we call it, a worm fucker, as it were, because it never left the ground. And he had a nightmare, and we were all being polite because we were playing golf with the great Johnny Mathis. He's third in the most albums ever sold in the world, behind the Beatles and Elvis. And we were being incredibly polite because this was a great honour. And we didn't know quite what to say because he just could not hit the ball properly that day. And then we were very quiet, and we were walking up this fairway, and suddenly this amazing voice came out. I can't do this, guys, by the way, but it went something like, "Look at me." And he went into this song, Misty, and he looked around, he went, "Thank God I can still sing." So that was that was my most memorable moment, I think. I play off 19 still, which is okay. It's okay. I'm just pleased I can still hit a golf ball.
So two holes in one off 19, is that, Bob?
19. It's fair and accurate, honestly.
There you go.
I play off 9. None. I've had none.
9? You've had 9?
No, I play off 9 and I've had none.
Oh.
Plus, I should put my handicap up. I get all in one.
Yeah. What about you, Asmir? Any major memorable experiences?
No, I think no holes in one or anything like that. And I think my level of golf, I'm still quite, I guess, casual golfer, and I love getting out there. I think just experiences, chances playing with teammates, some cool courses. Dubai, Abu Dhabi was, Scott. We pleased to hear that play Celtic Manor, so that was a cool experience. Wentworth, Beaverbrook, all those kind of places. So just enjoying the day, making the most of it, and hopefully when the time comes and I have a bit more time, then I'll really crack on with everything.
Asmir, are you still on loan in Milan?
I am indeed. Yeah, Bob. I've been here for the last month. We're obviously training now, pre-season, getting ready to restart things again. So I'm here until the end of the season, whenever that will be.
Do you keep in touch with Petr Čech at all, Asmir?
We do. It was his birthday yesterday, so we were chatting. We were chatting last night, so we
his birthday.
Still keep in close contact. Yeah, it was his birthday yesterday.
His birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't forget. You didn't forget to send him a message, did you?
I did. I did. But now
just buy him a new scrum cap, he'll be fine.
No, because we're so close. I mean, our kids go to the same school, so we see each other quite regularly. And his son trains in my goalkeeper academy as well as Chelsea. So we're in touch all the time, which is nice.
I think he could still play. I had a little bit of a discussion with him, and when he announced he was finishing, and I just sent a message to him and said, "Petr, you sure about this?" And I went, Shilton 42 or 43, Jennings 41, David Seaman 41. The old goalkeepers union, as it were. And he came back and he said, I'd rather, I think his words were, I'd rather be too early than too late, or something like that, You
missed out John Burridge.
Yeah. We had a great chat about that, Bob, because he said something like, you're crazy, I think you still had another contract on the table, and of course you could still keep playing. And I think that was exactly what he said. He'd rather retire a couple of years earlier. And also what he had was the technical role with Chelsea to go right into. It's obviously on his doorstep, and this is something he can do now for the rest of his life, really. So I think all in all, it was kind of a decision that was made for him in a way.
Yeah. I
was thinking, Sean and Scott, what's considered old as a player in cricket and rugby? What's considered old?
96.
In cricket, they've been known to go to, 42, 43, I guess, but...
Not the bowlers.
No.
Wicketkeeper.
Definitely not the bowlers. No,
I suppose if you're fielding at third man, you can be about 65.
I think it was Shaggy, actually. Sean Newdall, I think, was 42 when he retired.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, but that's not proper bowling, is it? That's just like a couple of steps and just flicking your arm over.
Absolutely, which is something I should have done at the beginning of my career.
What about you, Scott? What about for rugby?
I suppose an average, the backs, if the backs are fit, then I think you can keep on going to the 36-ish, 37. Forwards, normally around 34, 35. I retired when I was 32, only because of injury. But yeah, if you get a mid-30s, I think you've had a good career.
Wow. Because was it Stanley Matthews who was the oldest on-field player? Was he into his 50s? I think, wasn't it, Stanley Matthews?
Yeah,
49, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think you're right, Matt. I think he was into his 50th year, as it were.
Yeah.
I got to know him, both interview him and also met him in Toronto, where he lived for a while. I mean, he was fascinating because obviously everybody of my era remembers I was just a growing up kid seeing the 52 final, the Blackpool final, which they call the Matthews final, but really could have been the Mortensen final because Stan Mortensen scored a hat-trick in it. It was great to talk to, and we became good friends. He didn't like the fact that the salaries were suddenly exploding and he'd missed out. So I found that a little bit sad, because he played, you know, in a great era. And I think, you know, I consider I was lucky to play in a golden era for the game, as it were, with some of the guys' names that have been mentioned this afternoon. You know, if I think about playing against Pele and Cruyff and Bobby Charlton and Bestie, I have a signed picture up here behind me of George Best. So yeah, it was times change. But I was sad that he didn't like the fact that that the world was changing in the football world and he'd missed out. Sad.
I don't think there's too many of them around though, Bob, is there? Because I was lucky. I played amateur rugby, and then I went to rugby league at the age of 21, and I came back at 24, and then I played rugby union professionally in the early stages. When there wasn't a huge amount of money, I wouldn't change it for the world.
No.
The experiences we had back then were relative to our lifestyles, what we wanted. You know, it was just fantastic, and the guys are making 5 times more money now. But it just doesn't seem. I think I played in an era where we had the best of both worlds. You know, I can stand up now and do an after dinner speech for an hour with content that was made over 10 years of playing, with good times and bad times, and the guys coming out now is just, you know, if they a lot of the Welsh boys, if they celebrate now, they have fruit and nut. Jesus Christ, what sort of world do you want to live in when you win a Grand Slam and you celebrate with fruit and nut? Fucking hell, I couldn't believe it.
Brilliant.
Sports science has taken over.
I think you're right, Pete. He was 50 years and 5 days, according to Wikipedia.
Oh, look at that. He's a man for his stats, is our Matt.
Matt, is it true you hold the record for penalties? Is that right? You only missed 1 penalty ever?
I did. I scored 47 out of 48, but I don't know if it's any kind of record or not, because you don't know who you're comparing with. I'm sure there were.
Well, everybody else.
I'm sure there were people in other parts of the world that played in leagues that probably had similar records, and you just don't know about it.
Look at us making his face. He knows. He knows.
Yeah, he knows.
Of course he does. Just been on Wikipedia as well.
It depends how you measure it, because some guys have scored 10 out of 10 penalties so far, so they've got 100% record, so that's better than me.
Matt. Do you know who saved it, Matt?
Of course
who saved your... Yeah.
Yes, Mark Crossley saved it, but what he fails to tell people in his after-dinner speech is that I took 5 penalties against him. I'm 4-1 up, so he should shut up.
Matt, have you seen this recent article on Eurosport.co.uk? I'm sure you have.
Yes, I did. My family spent fortunes voting for that.
Matt Le Tissier, #1 Premier League player ever.
Yeah.
As I say, I think the vote may have been skewed somewhat by my family voting.
I did. No one outside of Southampton is allowed to vote.
That's all right. My family are in Guernsey.
I tried to phone your mobile 10 times last week, and it was engaged for 7 days.
I might have been a bit busy doing interviews, but I don't like to talk about it.
Oh, hey, that's a hell of an honour, though. Without jokes aside, that's a massive honour, isn't it? Even though it's you sport, but it's still an honour.
You have to be a little bit real about it. I mean, I beat Thierry Henry in the final. I mean, seriously, he's the best player I've seen in the Premier League. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened with that vote.
There's a good argument, Matt. Thierry, the best player in the that's a good argument. I'm an Arsenal fan, obviously, and always been an Arsenal man, just the same way like you only ever played for one club. I only ever played for one club, but I would put Dennis ahead of him. Bergkamp.
There's definitely a discussion to be had there. There's been some amazing players. I mean, you can't really discount Alan Shearer from that conversation, given he scored so many more goals than everybody else. But yeah,
I watched that Ryan Giggs thing. Was it Life of Ryan? I watched that yesterday. You look at, if you're going on achievements, he's got to be put in that argument as well, isn't he?
So I think the Eurosport poll was actually specifically based on pure football talent.
People from Southampton.
Yeah, basically. It wasn't based on kind of achievements and things that you won in your career, obviously, because I would have been knocked out in the first fucking round.
Hey, at least you're the best player in your family.
Oh, are you suggesting that you're not?
I'm not. No, when my father went to 3 British Lions stores, my uncle's Barry John, and my godfather is Merv the Swerve Davis. I'm not even the best fucking player in my family.
Well, you've got something in common with Blandy then, because his brother's better at golf than he is.
I'm not sure about that. I've seen some videos of the.
Have you seen the videos I put of him in his warm up to America on social media?
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, you're judging him after he nearly died. Do you know what I mean? That's a bit harsh.
I actually think I think he was worse before his illness.
But seriously though, as young lads, a lot of people have said to me who knew the pair of you back then that he was a more talented golfer than you were, but you just were prepared to work harder than he was.
Yeah, when we were sort of growing up playing. Yeah, Heath was lower than me, I think. But yeah, Heath was just someone he'd turn up. Yeah, it's a bit like lockdown golf, isn't it? You just turn up, play your golf, and go.
Yeah.
Well, except he would hang around afterwards in the bar. He was sickening really, because he'd just sort of turn up, get his clubs out the car, and just stripe it like 300 straight down the first fairway. And it's like,
man,
I've been practicing all morning and couldn't do that to save my life. So, but yeah, I think if Heath had the dedication for it and wanted to put the time into it, I think you don't know how far he could have gone, but he would have been a good player. He would have been a very good player.
That must be why I got on so well with him. I think the lads at Southampton couldn't understand when I walked out on the training pitch why I just walk out and then start trying to hit the crossbar from the halfway line without even warming up.
Didn't you score one, Matt? Didn't you score one from 30, 40 yards?
And obviously,
yeah, it was about 35 yards against Tim Flowers at
Tim
at
Flowers.
Blackburn, yeah.
Oh, Blackburn.
I scored one from about a similar distance against Nigel Spink at Aston Villa, but he actually should have saved it. He palmed it into the side net, and it was a shit piece of goalkeeping, to be honest. I don't expect you boys to criticise him being in the union and all that, but
never.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Asmir will tell you cannot win if you're a goalie. You can have 89 minutes of brilliance and you can go home.
There you go.
Make a mistake. You go home as an idiot.
That's completely the opposite to me. I had 89 minutes of shite and did one brilliant thing and went home a hero.
Exactly. Gary Lineker did that once in a European game. Gary had a nightmare game once in a European game, and he scored in the last minute, and it was all the headlines, and it made me think you have got to be daft to go in goal 8 yards by 8 foot, haven't you, Asmir? 192 square foot, crazy.
Some would say that, Bob.
Yeah.
Hey, I tell you who I was with the other day, Neville Southall.
Oh,
he's a big lad, isn't he?
Oh, God. Yeah, he is. But I tell you what, he's still got that aura around him. Because I'm a Liverpool supporter, right? And he was, of course, he was a toffee and everything. But boy, he was good, Bob, wasn't he?
What a goalkeeper!
Yeah, and Scott, you know, Bobby Gould was manager of Wales for a short time, and he used to be. He was one of my roommates at Arsenal before he moved on to one of his 23 clubs or whatever. But Gouldy asked me to, he said, would you come down and coach the goalies when he had the position of manager of Wales? So I said, well, can't do it on a daily basis, Bob. But anyway, went down.
Can't afford to get across the bridge.
And there was Neville, and I'm not sure he was too keen about having a goalkeeping coach, because there were no goalkeeping coaches really until one or two of us sort of began that scene. But he was a fantastic goalkeeper. He had a real presence about him. Asmir will tell you this. I mean, whatever else you might be missing in your game, whether you're good on crosses or not good on crosses, great on shot stopping, if you haven't got presence, I mean, that is the biggest thing. If you go out and look as if you're scared, you will play scared, and you have to have presence. And he was one like Pat Jennings and David Seaman, who I coached for 16 years, who had this amazing presence. Pat Jennings and he Neville, Big Neville had that presence about him, Scott.
No, it was amazing. I tell you what, goalkeepers, to me, as a layman, looking outside of it, right? You always look like, you know, you're a bit mad in a way. Have you seen the Michael Jordan documentary?
Last Dance, yeah.
Last Dance, which is one of the best things I've seen on TV for a long time, sport or entertainment or anything. I always think goalkeepers are a little bit Michael Jordan-esque, where they're always having a go at other people, but they're always striving to make everybody else better. Because if everybody else is better, they've got a little bit less to do.
Asmir, you go first.
I could go with that. Yeah, no, I'd go with that. I think our job is, as Bob said earlier, it's about being perfectionists. And you know, if you do 9 out of 10 things right and 1 wrong, it's a big problem. So I think the fact is we have that sort of mentality. We have, and I think to be a high-level goalkeeper, you have to have the mentality that you don't want to concede at all costs. And if someone else doesn't share that, whether the defender just lets crosses in or doesn't put his body in the line, and of course, I think you take a lot of offense to that. And I think that's why, you know, Michael Jordan was so great, because if someone didn't put the effort in that he did, or didn't sacrifice what he did, then he has an issue with that. And I think goalkeepers, in a sense, have that, and that personality, that sort of aura, as Scott and Bob mentioned, is what makes goalkeepers, I think, what they are. And I think now, with the modern goalkeeper, you don't see many of those. I think they're a lot more in their shells, but I definitely see what you're saying, Scott, in that sort of comparison.
I would have loved to be in a goalkeeper, but I just can't get off the floor. I'm too heavy.
I always say Neville Southall was one of the best goalkeepers that I played against. I put him up there as number 1 alongside Petr Schmeichel probably. But I'll never forget a day down at the Dell. I was only a young lad, and obviously he was in the peak of his form at this point. And I get put clean through against him with the ball over the top, and the ball's bouncing. So I'm thinking, this is perfect. I just feint to shoot. He goes down, and I just lob it over the top of him. So I'm only about 4 yards away from him, and I feint to shoot. And as I feinted to shoot, I then go to just lob it over the top of him. Of course, he hasn't bought the shot in the first place, and he stood there, and he literally put his hands up, took the ball, and started laughing at me. But you cheeky flat. Brilliant.
Oh dear.
I was going to ask Charlie, what was it like playing in front of Asmir? Is he a noisy goalkeeper? Is he incredibly demanding?
I wouldn't say he's noisy, but he's definitely knows what we need to do, and he'll let you know if you're not doing it right. I've played in front of some goalies who just shout for the fun of it. I'm sure Matt would say just try and point the finger at someone else. But no, Asmir is he's very demanding about what he wants, but he knows exactly what he wants. I mean, you look at his career that he's had; he's won so many trophies, and you know when a person like that talks to him, you listen.
Because you had the two extremes as a spectator, as a fan. The two extremes for me was obviously Petr Schmeichel being the real vocal one, and then David Seaman almost being the complete opposite. But you know, there's I think I was thinking about the styles as well, because obviously with Bob, he was you know, the style of diving in at the feet. Have you got a particular style, Asmir? Would you say that you've got a kind of go-to way of keeping?
Yeah, well, I think I'm a little bit more. What you said, a little bit of the older generation, where we use our hands a lot more. We use blocking techniques, more of a spread. Whereas now, it's a lot more delicate. It's a little bit more cuter with the K blocks, and just using different techniques, and you know, standing up to make your saves. And I think I'm definitely I grew up in that sort of 90s, early 2000s era, and I think that was one of the best eras for goalkeeping. I mean, my hero, we talk about presence and domination, was Oliver Kahn. I mean, you know, I'd hate to be a defender for him if someone did a mistake or they didn't put their body in line, because he would
let him know.
He'd let him know, and he would eat him, wouldn't he? So that's sort of my style, and I think I still I used to follow Petr Čech, the GG Buffon still now, and those are the sort of my examples of goalkeeping, and what I think is proper goalkeepers, because now a lot of people try and make goalkeepers into something, something different. But the bottom line is we're goalkeepers, and our job is to protect the goals and make sure that everyone else knows what the jobs are.
And let me tell you, he's definitely got that Schmeichel lunge. I've had that a couple of times. When he comes out spreads, and the studs are just up. I've been caught a couple
There's no hard feelings, Chaz. No hard feelings.
Yeah.
On those,
I've been definitely been caught with them
things, but it's that sort of mentality, all or nothing. If they're going to score, then they're going to feel something. And for me, if you take the ball, you have to take everything, and it's that sort of mentality. And for us, for goalkeepers, you get questions now like, "Are you scared of the coronavirus?" Like, no, not really. For us, it's more the breaking our necks or putting our head on the line. So for us, it's a different sort of mentality all around.
I don't know whether Matt's aware of my unpopularity with a lot of Southampton fans. Are you aware of that, Matt?
I wasn't, Bob. What did you do to upset him?
Well, it was the 70. Anybody else know about this or not? I mean, this is about putting your head on the line, and I mean, my style, as I said, was a Bert Troutman head first. It worked for me. I punctured lung, got some broken bones and everything. But at Southampton one day, Matt, and it's even written in a Southampton book quite dramatically, I was 1-against-1 with Hughie Fisher, who was coming through. Hughie Fisher from yesteryear, obviously.
I know Hughie, I know him well. And
I used to wait when I was advancing, trying to make the goals look small. I was just looking for the moment of miscontrol, a fraction miscontrol. And at that moment, it would never be feet first or sideways. It was bang. It was head first. And I went down at Hughie's feet, and he went over the top of me. I had the ball in my hands, and I stood up and I looked around at him, and he went, "You bastard, you bust my leg."
Oh, really?
And his leg was broken.
Oh, wow.
And of course, he got carried off on a stretcher, and the Southampton fans went absolutely, I mean, they didn't know it was broken. Hughie was great. I got in touch with him in the hospital. When I say he was great, I got in touch. I sent him a letter, and he said, "Look, you could have broken your neck as much as I broke my leg." He was really fair about the situation.
Yeah.
But that's the way I played. And like Bert Troutman broke his neck, it could have been Ernie Taylor, who was the Birmingham player, who got away with it, but broke Bert's neck. And that, it was just when Asmir was talking about that, you go head first, you put your head on the line, as it were. But Southampton fans, if I've gone to an evening, a Q&A or something, I'm not always greeted politely.
I'll remind Hughie about that next time I speak to him.
Will you say hello?
I will.
Yeah,
I will, mate.
So, Scott, I was going to ask the same question of everyone, really, is in terms of a kind of self-diagnosis of playing styles. You can go first, Scott. But what was your kind of go-to style of playing?
Just run over the top of people. Basically, that was it. That was the strength of my game. It was just running over the top of people, making yards. And like Bob said there, you're full active, you're fully committed. You go down, you got the ball. That was your job, to get the ball. And when he stands up to the ball, it was my job to hurt people. It was my job to run over the top of them, and when they were on the floor, pick them up and run over them again. And it was that's our style. They played a game the other day, because all this lockdown, nostalgia is massive now, isn't it? Where people are watching games from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And if you'd taken today's laws and implemented to the game we played in 94 or 99, then at the end of the game, there'd have been about 5 people still left on the pitch. and because it was brutal, if somebody fell on the floor, like if Bob dived in front of me and he hit the floor, then I'd stamp on him, because he's not supposed to be laying on the floor. So that if you're on the floor, tough, you know what you're going to get. Today, people are sort of pushed out of the way nicely and sort of rolled over twice, things like that. But it's different times. We all played in different eras, and the mentality of those the people were totally different. And like we said earlier about the wages, I wouldn't have changed it for the world, because I know if I fell on the floor, I've got to get up and get out quickly again.
What about you, Sean? You had a particular style. Yours obviously as an all-rounder, but particular style in batting and particular style in bowling.
When it came to batting, I always found that if I was sort of quite attacking and positive, I used to get away with a lot more, and that sort of became a trend for me, and then which later on I sort of remembered for being someone who used to change the momentum of the game. But yeah, I mean, I just found my feet moved a lot better. I was in better positions just by purely just trying to be a bit more attacking and being a bit more positive. So, but again, it's there's also a fear factor in there with cricket. You got someone trying to knock your head off, so that gets the adrenaline going, and and yeah, I mean, you just got to find a way to do it. But and then the bowling was just, I used to try to take wickets, try to swing the ball, try to take the wickets, and try and knock someone's head off as well, because I was getting the same treatment. So why not give it back? I was in a lucky position that I could do both. So yeah, but yeah, just probably more being attacking and being a bit more positive.
The question I got, right, is that you're an all-rounder and you could do both, right? But if you're Michael Holding and you're trying to knock somebody, and that amazing West Indies attack they had in the late 70s, early 80s, they were coming down in 93, 95 miles an hour. They were taking your heads off. And then when they come out to bat, then they're thinking, oh, we're going to get the same thing. But nobody else had the 4 or 5 bowlers that could do everyone. What's the mentality when you're going in? So if you're bowling first, do you think, oh, I've got to bat later?
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm sure, it becomes a team that you play up against. Like, for instance, like I don't know, they had like you got Mitchell Johnson, who obviously, playing on a Wacker pitch or a Brisbane pitch was ridiculous to face. And then you got guys like Mitchell Starc, Cummings, and then only recently have England had someone like a Jofra Archer who could bowl that sort of 92, 93 mile an hour and push the limit. But those sort of guys, there's teams that, we used to play against like Pakistan, and they had Shoaib Akhtar and a few of the quick bowlers, and no one used to do that. No one used to, try to knock their heads off, because the batters used to come up to you and say, "Hey, listen, just pitch it up to him, just be gentle to him." But then they'll turn around and then they just try and knock your head off anyway. So it got to a point where it was just like, just go for it.
Charlie, did you have a particular style of playing that is your kind of go-to?
No, really. I mean, it changes. I mean, when I finally got in the Premier League, I knew that obviously you're going to be playing against the best of the best, and you've got to be a lot more aggressive than I had been. Saying in playing in the Championship, League One, League Two, it's a totally different game, and I've had to adapt and just basically get better the higher that I played. And when you're playing against players like Adama Traoré, who is absolutely rapid, it's hard to defend against. So you just have to adjust your game to whoever you're playing against. You say 1 week you could be up against Adama Traoré, next week you could be up against Bernardo Silva. 2 different types of players, but both very, very effective. So it's just adjusting your game really to whoever you're up against.
What about you, Rich? I mean, in terms of golf, obviously people are going to have the different shapes of shots that they would play. I mean, what's yours? What's your stock shot, should we say?
At the minute, I'm not too sure. Probably, off the tee, I probably tend to be a little bit more left to right if I can be. Not a lot. You don't want to be, too much. And I've worked hard on that to change that. When I was younger, I was predominantly kind of right to left. But I think with golf, it took, because the technology advancements now, it is a lot harder to shape the ball as much, because the ball's just not on the club face as long. So you manages it. So you just kind of adapt to each course, and I think it's the thing with golf. You've got to adapt to each day, because the weather conditions, how the course is playing, whether it's playing soft, whether it's playing firm. And it's just how many, I think more now, or over the last few years, it's just trying to bring more shots to your game, what sort of shots you can play, controlling, spin, that kind of thing. Where I think, like back in the sort of 80s, 90s, when the golf ball was so soft and spun so much, you didn't have as much control of it. We've all seen the sort of pictures of Seve when he won it at Lytham in 79, I'm going for. Matt, I'm sure Matt will probably know. He's all over the place, in windy conditions. Those golf balls were just so difficult to control. So difficult. Whereas now, because the ball doesn't spin as much, even in a pretty decent crosswind, if you're swinging well and you're pretty neutral in your ball flight, you don't really have to aim that far away from the flag, because the ball will just go straight through it. Whereas you go back 20 years ago, you'd be aiming 25, 30 yards left of it, because the ball just gets moved so much.
I genuinely think my ball must be 30 years old then.
I was just about to say the same thing, because mine doesn't go straight.
No.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, young Master Daniel.
You've just saved us at the right time. Blandy was going on a little bit about golf.
I was just gonna come in with some of the questions that we had come through on Instagram. So there was someone's asking. We've got Rob who's asking, what is your dream four ball? So a three ball that you would play with. We put this to Charlie and Asmir and Bob, because we know with the other guys anyway, but we can scoot through them. But Charlie, should we kick off with you?
Yeah, good question. I think Tiger's got to be the first one. Tiger was
a popular choice. Yeah,
just because his achievements and what he's all done throughout his career. Second one, I think Michael Jordan, just off that the one last dance. I think to play around with him and get his take on everything that he's been through, I think that would be another one. And
don't embarrass me now.
You're fourth. Sorry,
oh, thank you. Not a bad four ball, huh?
That's right. Yeah.
You'll be the caddy.
First reserve.
I'll do anything.
I think someone a bit intelligent probably needs someone to, probably like Barack Obama, someone like that. Yeah, someone who's
We don't go down the political route with Matt online.
Well, I have
let's not get into COVID-19 with Matt. Jesus.
Yeah.
Let's make Southampton great again.
Yeah.
What about you, Asmir? Dream four ball?
Yeah, I mean, I'd go with Tiger. I go with Tiger first and foremost. Just to think best golfer of all time. In my opinion, just would love. I don't know. In my opinion, anyway. I know Jack but I don't know. Tiger was just a different animal, I guess. So I'd love to play with him. Charles Barkley would be the second one. He looks like he'd be a lot of fun on the course. And who else? Who else would be my next one? Tom Brady. I'll go with Tom Brady.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, get Barack out. I think I'd like Bubba on the course. I think it'd be a good person to play with.
Yeah, great call. What about you, Bob?
Yeah, but online now, he's just genuinely pissed Obama off, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He don't care. Nothing to do with.
You'll be getting a call tomorrow, Chaz.
Yeah.
You have a secret service round tomorrow.
Who you got then, Bob?
Oh, blimey. I mean, I'd go with Asmir, Petr Čech, Pat Jennings and David Seaman, which is a 5-ball. No,
Perfect.
if I was playing...
I'll be there, Bob. You just name the time and place and I'll be there.
Okay, if I was playing with the pros, I would definitely have... Oh, I've actually done this once, played with Faldo. So I played in a charity event with Nick Faldo on one occasion. David Seaman, myself, against Faldo and trying to remember the comedian. So that was interesting. Rory, I would definitely like to play with Rory. I would find that really interesting. I mean, obviously from the era Seve's name got mentioned, wow. You know, that must have been amazing to be in that era and to have seen him.
I played with Seve my first year on tour.
Who said that? Richard, obviously.
Yeah, I played with him for my first year on tour.
How was it?
I couldn't get the ball on the tee peg. I was absolutely shitting myself. It was probably about 15 tournaments into my European tour career, and I get drawn with him. And yeah, just unbelievable. I was just so in awe of him.
Was he a good guy?
I'll be back. I didn't. It was kind of one of those. He sort of come to the end of his career and was really sort of on the downward spiral. And so that part. And I just didn't want to get in his way. I had a couple of chats with him, but not anything really. And I kind of initiated it. I was probably a bit of a rabbit in a headlight, really. So I thought, well, it's probably best I kind of stay out of his way here.
Probably why he retired, if fairness.
Yeah, probably.
We'll go with Charlie first. So it's your toughest opponent that you've played against.
Can I just say, I think Matt's been eaten by the dog.
Have you seen the size of his dog?
He's a big dog.
Oh, God.
I think I said it before. There's been so many in the Premier League. As just for out and out pace, I think you have to say Adama Traoré. I mean, because he's just so unique in the fact that he's just so quick. I mean, Asmir tell you, he's frighteningly quick. I mean, if he'd done the 100 meters, I reckon he'd be up there. I mean, he's that really quick, and just his acceleration. I mean, he's one of the ones just for his uniqueness. But there's so many that you could choose from.
Asmir?
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay. And is that in terms of just pure precision of?
No, I've been fortunate to play. Well, Messi, everyone, and I leave the debate who's better to everyone, but to everyone else. But I'd never played one game. I played against them against Portugal in a playoff for, I think it was the Euros 2012 or something, and just never played against a player who was on the day just impossible to deal with. I mean, he's a problem at all times, but I think he scored 3 or 4 against us that day. Smashed in a free kick from 30 yards, left foot, right foot, in behind, to feet, crossing headers. We just, I mean, sometimes you try and do something in double team, whatever it is you can do, but there was just I never played a game where you lost. I think we lost 6-2. We're absolutely destroyed, and could have been 12. He was just and it was all to him. I mean, even that team wasn't all that great. I think they had some other players that were decent, but they didn't need anyone else. I mean, he was just incredible. Just never played a game where someone was that impossible to deal with.
I think I've watched both of them play. I watched Real Madrid down in Cardiff in the Super Cup, and Ronaldo. I've never seen somebody work so hard up and down the field. Just incredible. And it was only the Super Cup. It was the start of the season. It was just before, and he was up and down the field. And he scored 2 or 3. And he was just incredible. Matt was very similar. In fairness,
thank you.
But you went across the field, not up and down. and it was just incredible. And then I watched Messi in the European Cup at Arsenal at the Emirates, and he did nothing all day. He spent, I'm not sure, he spent 88 minutes out of the 90 offside, and scored 2 goals. Barcelona.
Yeah, well, it's funny. We played them 2014 World Cup, and we played Argentina the first game, and it was Messi. We're like, we absolutely, like, you got to look at everyone else, but obviously he was the main focus, and he didn't do anything. He literally stood around. He stood around. It was 1-0, 72nd minute, and Bosch took the ball at the halfway line, dribbled through 4 guys, curled it in off the post, and they won 2-1 the game. And that's all he did in the game. And then I was like, just incredible again. But from Ronaldo's point of view, and I've played it, obviously now he's transformed himself into probably just a striker and just in a different way. But he was incredible. He was incredible for what he did. I mean, just impossible to deal with.
It goes to prove that it doesn't matter which way you play. If you work to the game plan that you play, they're both world class, but do it in totally different ways.
Just different ways, and obviously depending on the day you play them as well. But just incredible players.
I don't know whether you just don't run over people. That's what I used to do. Just not easier.
Bob, what about you? Toughest or best opponent?
Close call for me between Jimmy Greaves and George Best. But the vote would have to go to Greavesy, who, Asmir is here, so he'll back me up on here. What we play, the goal is 8 yards wide by 8 feet high. It's 192 square feet. It's an effing great chasm. Asmir will definitely back me up on that. But, we talk about our angles, our positional play. And Greavesy would come in and, I'd think I'd block off, I got my near post covered. That's bad coming from me, if you remember the 71 Cup final. But anyway, I've got the near post covered. I've got the goal. I'm fine. There's only one place you can score, Jimmy, today. The only one place is that far top corner. Bang. He was a nightmare, and he'd run over me and laugh or wink or, he was a nightmare. Bestie was different in his way, but I would have to put Jimmy Greaves. He was a sensational guy. It was, definitely he would just sneak ahead of Bestie for me.
Sean, toughest opponent?
She's probably that fear factor. I'd probably say Shoaib Akhtar. I know that even guys who are on the top of their game, unbelievable players like Ricky Ponting or Adam Gilchrist, they still didn't like facing a 100 mile an hour ball, so 100 kilometer hour ball, so 160 kilometer hour ball, should I say? But yeah, just the fear factor. I'll say him. It was just horrendous. Some bowlers you can pick up. They got a lovely smooth action. Shoaib runs in from the side screen and then turns as if he's going to throw the ball. You lose sight of it, and then next thing it's coming out your head. So yeah, I'll definitely say him.
Matt, what about you?
I think probably Des Walker was probably the defender that I struggled against the most, I'll be honest.
Okay.
The crowd used to sing, "You'll never beat Des Walker," and in my case, they were right.
Wow.
Just couldn't get past him. His reading of the game was really good. He was very quick, which obviously doesn't really help when you're my pace. But I just always used to struggle against him. And I'll never forget playing against him when he was at Sheffield Wednesday once. And I got left, and they had a corner, and it was just me and him like stood in the centre circle. And the corner got cleared, and I managed to get it under control. And I turned to face him, and I knocked the ball past him, as if I was going to try and run by him. And he literally turned round, started laughing, jogged to the ball and passed it back to the goalkeeper before I even got anywhere near it. And I just looked at him, and he looked at me and he went, "What were you thinking?" and I just looked at him and I just started pissing myself. I thought, I know, what am I doing? Brilliant he was. I liked it.
You never beat Des Walker, I bet, was the shout from the crowds, wasn't it?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So Des would be right up there for me.
Scott?
We've done this one. Paulo Perellini.
Yeah, that was the toughest hit. But was he consistently the toughest opponent for you?
Yeah, because I've never been hit like that before.
Right.
No, yeah, there was. Yeah, you know, and anybody who puts a pair of boots on is tough. And you know, you go out there and you got to become somebody else, as I said before. But yeah, no, I used to love playing against everybody. It was nice.
Rich on the tour. Is there anyone that's got that kind of charisma and persona that, like Woods used to have, and almost like you, if you're playing in the same group, that's going to affect you?
No, I don't think so much now. You know, I guess if you played with, I suppose if you're a young lad now and you maybe got drawn with Rory, yeah, and you look up to him as a role model kind of thing, then yeah, I guess you could be overawed by it. You know, a bit like I guess I did. You know, when I played against Seve. I think if you're looking just at, you know, sort of toughness on a golf course, then I don't think you can look much past Tiger, really. You know, just the intensity. You know, we all talked about the Michael Jordan thing, you know, and you'd put Tiger, I think, you know, in that category with Jordan. You know, just the intensity that he brought, you know, to every single tournament that he played. Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're coming to the end of this week's Zoom chat. Thanks to Asmir Begovic and Charlie Daniels, and of course our surprise guest, Mr. Bob Wilson. Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it too, guys. If you did, please click the like button. Be sure to share it with your friends, and also, if you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the content. We'll catch you again very soon. Thanks again. Take care.